Welcome to The Explainer. We're all about taking big, important ideas and breaking them down into clear, focused presentations. So let's just dive right in with a question I think we've all asked ourselves. Why does life feel so complicated sometimes? You read the books, you try to improve, you set goals, but things still feel kind of messy and contradictory. It's this universal puzzle we're all trying to solve. To help us figure this out, we're going to be looking at a really fascinating book. It brings together two huge traditions for understanding, well, us. We've got psychology, the science of how our minds work, and philosophy, the ancient art of living wisely. Now, the authors make one thing super clear right from the get-go. This is not a book with some magic recipe for a perfect life. Nope. Instead of giving you easy answers, they offer something way more valuable. A mental toolbox, and it's all designed to help us build one single crucial skill. So, what is the skill? What's the ultimate goal here? Well, we're about to get into the core idea that every single tool in this book is designed to build. It's a concept that's been around for thousands of years, but you're going to see it's more relevant now than ever. The big goal of the book is to help us develop what the ancient Greeks called phronesis, or practical wisdom. This isn't about book smarts or memorizing roles. It's the real-world skill of making good calls in all the messy, gray areas of life. It's like the difference between knowing all the traffic laws and actually being a good driver who knows what to do in a sudden traffic jam. It's about applying what you know effectively for yourself. And here, Aristotle gives us this amazing tool for building that wisdom, the golden mean. Now, hold on. This doesn't mean just being bland or picking the middle option every time. Not at all. As the quote says, it's about the right response at the right time. Think about courage, for example. It's the mean between being a coward on one end and being totally reckless on the other. It's not about being half brave. It's about finding the perfectly appropriate level of action for the specific challenge in front of you.
Okay, so how do we actually use these ideas in real life? The book sets up this incredible framework, a constant conversation between the modern psychologist, the shrink, and the timeless philosopher, the sage. Let's watch how their two perspectives help us tackle a couple of dilemmas that I bet we all face.
All right, first up, a very, very modern obsession. This constant, relentless pressure to be perfect. It's a weird paradox, right? The harder we chase this flawless, ideal version of ourselves, the more we seem to just trip over our own feet. It just leads to frustration and feeling like we're constantly failing. So how do we get out of this trap? Well, the book gives us two paths that actually work together. The shrink, coming from psychology, is all about acceptance. Think of it like being an archer. You can perfect your stance, your aim, your release, but you can't control a sudden gust of wind. You just can't. So the goal is to focus on your effort, not the perfect outcome. Then, the sage, the philosopher, takes it even deeper. They argue we should stop defining ourselves by some imaginary potential and start owning what we actually do. It's a huge shift from worrying about what you could be to focusing on what you are. And this quote from the philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre just nails that point. He basically said that hanging on to your unfulfilled dreams and all that potential is just a way of fooling yourself. What really, truly defines you are your choices and your actions. Plain and simple, you are what you do. And that idea, focusing on action over potential, it leads us straight into our next big dilemma, the hunt for our true self. This is another one of those feelings we all get. This idea that there's a real you hidden deep down inside, and the person you show the world is just an act, a mask. But what if that entire idea is based on a misunderstanding of what a self even is? And again, this dialogue format just gives us such a richer picture. The shrink helps us see that our true self isn't some buried treasure we need to find. It is the messy, complicated, evolving person we are right now. In fact, sticking to rigid labels like, oh, I'm just an introvert, can actually trap you and stop you from growing. Then the sage comes in with this brilliant metaphor. Yourself isn't a solid pearl you discover. It's more like a dynamic bundle of experiences that's always changing. From that point of view, someone who stays the exact same for decades isn't being authentic. They're just stuck. So the huge takeaway here is that authenticity isn't something you find, it's something you create. It's this active, ongoing process of building yourself through your choices day in and day out. Being a work in progress isn't a bug, it's the feature. It's the very definition of being a living, breathing human being. Okay, so we have these powerful ideas in our toolbox. How do we actually use them to approach our lives differently, day to day? So how do we put all this into practice? The book really boils it down to 3 guiding principles. First, embrace the good enough. Seriously, instead of chasing some impossible idea of perfection, just aim for what's good enough for the situation at hand. Second, focus on being, not just achieving. Try to shift your focus from just ticking off boxes and hitting goals to appreciating the person you're becoming along the way. And finally, number 3, surf the tides of emotion. Don't try to fight your feelings, but don't let them control you either. Just acknowledge them, like waves in the ocean, and then choose to act based on your deeper values, not just a fleeting emotion. In the end, the shrink and the sage leaves us with this powerful invitation. The most important conversation you'll ever have isn't with a therapist or a guru, it's the one that's constantly happening inside your own head. The challenge and the goal is to learn to listen to both sides, the insightful shrink and the rational sage. Because living well isn't about finding the one perfect answer. It's about getting better and better at hosting that inner conversation. That is practical wisdom, and that is the real guide to living.